Welcome back to Mr. Write, your podcast for fiction writers. I'm your host, Taylor Morrison. Today is October 1st, and this is the start of our daily podcast where I will do quick little snippets on prepping for NANOWRIMO, which is Novel Writers Month that starts November 1st. For anyone who doesn't know, the goal is to write 50,000 words in 30 days in the month of November. I'll post in the description box links to the NaNoWriMo website if you want to take a look at that, or if you do know what it is and you just want to set up your account, or even if you do know what it is, then just don't look at it. Okay, today we're going to talk about planning characters. The thing about planning characters is that they say you need to have three types of characters in your story. You need to have the primary or main characters. They're the ones that drive the story. It's their motivations and goals which move the plot forward, and it's also where the reader experiences the story, is with those characters. You need to have secondary characters. They weave in and out of the story and encounter the main characters, and it says that they need to be interesting, but not so that the reader's focus doesn't follow them. Like, you don't want the reader to start caring more about your secondary characters than your main characters. And then you have your background characters, which are just, they are characters that fill the space in between. So, like, if your character goes to an armory, there needs to be somebody manning the armory. It can't just be, like, an empty room with guns in it. You have to have background characters, like, even, you go to an office building and there's gotta be people working there. But they're Joe Smith and Jane Doe. You don't have to give them names, you just have to give them existence. And then from the Better Novel Project, I'll link this in the description as well. This is a very good website for writing novels. It has great advice, but they have 20 characters you need to start your book, and I'm going to go through each one and explain it and then tell you what I think about that, okay? So the first one is, obviously, you need the hero. They're the ones who kick off the novel. They're your main character. You need the hero's family. It says that you would demonstrate the lack of care the hero receives and why the hero can only rely on himself. The hero's family can also show that the hero has someone he needs to protect. Yes, even if your character doesn't have any family, they need to have somebody in place of a family. So like a friend or a caregiver of some kind, or just somebody that is either ignoring them or that they need to protect. It says the herald is not part of the hero's everyday life, and he introduces an element of magic when he brings the hero an invitation for adventure. That one, the herald is only really going to be for the hero's journey, so you're not going to need that one for all stories, and your herald could be a main character. It doesn't have to be somebody who's not part of the everyday life. I don't see why it needs to be like that, but yeah. And also, he doesn't need to be the invitation for adventure. Other things can be the invitation. The mentor appears in chapter 1, although the hero doesn't meet him face to face until later. For now, we see the possibility that the hero will finally receive some parenting of sorts. Yeah, the mentor is who you want. That's what I was saying before about the hero's family. You want the hero to have somebody that is in place of a family, so that would be your mentor. Authority figures, obviously, that could be parents, police officers, somebody who stands in the way of whatever it is the hero needs to do law-wise, or like telling him what to do. Peers, that goes for the background people, characters representing danger. Yeah, those are the people who are the background characters for your villain, and they're the ones that kind of foreshadow something's not quite right. And then there's the no-names. Yep, no-names are, again, your background characters. Extras. The difference between a no-name and an extra is the no-names are just people who just happen to be in the scene that, again, have no names. And extras are people who are likely to reappear. They're likely to reappear, and it wouldn't feel too convenient since they've already been introduced and they have names. Oh, okay. So when it says that there's 20 characters, yeah, it's why you need 20 characters to start a book. They mean that there's 9 types, but out of those 9 types, you need to have at least 20 people in the story. And it says here that when in doubt, make a chart. So you would make a list of characters and who your characters are, and then make a chart of who's where and how they fit into your story. And some other people you might want to include in your story if those aren't enough to bog you down a little bit, but make sure that there's a love interest. You don't always have to have this, but these are optional. A love interest, and a narrator. Sometimes your main character is your narrator, and sometimes you're talking in third person, in which case your narrator would be a character. Anyway, so that is going to be all I'm going to talk about this time around for characters. There is going to be a more in-depth conversation about specific types of characters, like your protagonist and your antagonist, coming next week. And if you want to ask me some questions or you have something you'd like to say, you can email me at taylormorrisonwriter@gmail.com. You can find me on Tumblr at mrwritepodcast.tumblr.com. And you can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/taylormorrisonwriter. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you for listening to Mr. Wright.